Welcome into Cronkite Sports Live. Anthony is our names and Arizona sports are our games. Got a jam-packed show for you guys today.
That's right, Anthony. We've got Nick Sheehy and Andres Acuna to talk both ASU women's and men's basketball.
We'll dive into Bobby Hurley's squad shortly, but first, let's send it over to Blake Harris for this week's Impact. Blake, what's happening on the hardwood in the Conference of Champions?
We've reached the halfway mark in the conference play, and the Pac-12 has been full of surprises. Although only 2 Pac-12 teams find themselves in this week's AP poll, the conference is shaping up to be one of the more competitive ones in the nation. The Arizona Wildcats found themselves in 2 very close games this past week, but were able to pull both out, improving to 18-4 on the season and 8-1 in conference, which is good for first place. U of A was led by Dusan Ristic, who was named Player of the Week in the Pac-12. The Serbia native averaged 19 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks a game. USC, who started the season ranked in the top 10, are currently riding a 6-game winning streak and are only half a game out of the top spot in the conference. Cal and Washington State were both winless, as are the only 2 teams in the Pac-12 below 500. Although Arizona sits at the top of the conference, 4 teams are within 3 games from first, which will make each of these final remaining 9 games crucial. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Blake. Great insight as always. We now welcome in WCSN men's basketball analyst Andres Acuna to give us a scoop on ASU men's basketball. Andres, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here as always.
So we know about ASU's non-conference run, 12-0, but in their last 10 games, they've gone 5-5. What have you seen that's led to that downward slide?
Now, Anthony, I think Daquan Lake and Romello White need to be better down low. They're getting offensive rebounds put on them by numerous teams in the Pac-12, and that's leading to more possessions for those teams to score more points, and that is just not a recipe for success.
Okay, so aside from the play down low, how do you think ASU can improve with games like Oregon and U of A still on the board?
Well, as everyone knows, ASU shoots the 3 very well, but they also die by it sometimes, shooting a very low percentage in certain games. I think that if they can shoot better and maybe get some offensive rebounds by Daquan Lake and Romello White, that they'll win some more games.
Okay, that's fair. So let's say ASU takes your advice. How do you see them finishing up the season?
Well, I think in their remaining 9 games, ASU finishes 7-2, losing 1 here in Tempe in the Wells Fargo Arena to U of A, and also dropping 1 at Oregon. So I think that puts them at 23-7 on the year and puts them right around 20-25 in the AP Top 25 going into the Pac-12 tournament.
Okay, thank you, Andres. Great stuff as always. If you want to keep up with WCSN men's basketball coverage, you can check it out at cronkitesports.com. Early last week, AZ Central reported that ASU would be making a hefty deposit to the bank. The university announced a $160 million plan to renovate Wells Fargo Arena and add a sports complex just east of the arena. The complex would give permanent refuge to the men's hockey team, along with the wrestling and gymnastics squads. Renovations to the arena include a major reconstruction of the lower bowl, a wider concourse path, upgraded restrooms and concessions, and added seating. The plan is set to be voted on by the full Arizona Board of Regents for approval in February.
Thank you, Anthony. Now it's time to talk women's hoops, and for that we bring in women's basketball expert Nick Sheehy. Nick, great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
So, after losing 4 of its last 5 games, ASU women's basketball defeated the University of California 57-42. What are some takeaways from that game?
Well, my biggest takeaway from that game is just the control ASU had in that game. ASU's offense started the game on a 14-0 run. The defense held Cal to just 28% field goal shooting. So, just how they got it done on both sides of the ball is my biggest takeaway.
Now, coming down the stretch here, what's the biggest concern for the Lady Sun Devils?
Well, when Sabrina Haynes tore her ACL, unfortunately, I felt that, that injury really hampered the depth of this team. Courtney Eckmart, Robbie Ryan, Riley Richardson, all their minutes have been way increased. I just think they can't keep up with that workload. So my biggest concern for this team is just their health heading into the Pac-12 tournament.
ASU travels up to Washington this weekend to play Washington and Washington State. How do you think they're going to fare against those schools?
I see the Lady Devils getting 2 wins. Washington and Washington State right now sit at the bottom of the Pac-12. They have a combined conference record of 3-17. So I just think the Lady Devils will get the win and hopefully increase their standings in the Pac-12.
Well, great stuff from you always, Nick. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
The Arizona State men's swim team upset reigning national champion and number 2 Texas last week in Tempe. The Sun Devils came out of the block strong and were able to fend off a late surge from the Longhorns to win the match with a score of 162 to 138. Head coach Bob Bowen and his team look to finish the regular season off strong against number 18 Arizona at Mona Plummer Aquatic Center on February 3rd.
We've now made it to the best part of the show.
Here we go.
The way it is, Anthony and I will each ask each other a couple questions, give each other an answer or two. Winner gets a monologue. What say you?
Sounds great.
Let's start ASU men's basketball. We talked about they've got a game on Thursday against Washington. How do you see that one shaking out?
I think they're going to find their way back into their winning ways again. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that they were 12-0. So I think that they still have some of that winning mentality to be able to overcome adversity and potentially sweep the Washington schools this weekend.
I agree with you. I think ASU is going to win on Thursday. However, Noah Dickerson could provide some trouble for the Sun Devils down low, but I think Romello White and Daquan Lake will do what they need to do to get it done.
Now, ASU just picked up 4-star punter. How big is this for the special teams?
For a lot of programs, a 4-star punter wouldn't be that big of a deal, but being that ASU special teams were so inconsistent last year, I think it would be naive to say that this kid doesn't get a chance at the starting spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a 4-star recruit. I don't know how many punters there are out there that have 4 stars, but he has absolutely earned the right to show Herm Edwards and that coaching staff what he's got.
Definitely. Now we've got the biggest question in sports. Everyone's wondering, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Tom Brady, the GOAT. I mean, come on. It's no question. I got to go with the Patriots all the way again.
Okay, I'm going to agree with you. I've gone against Nick Foles the past 2 weeks, and I've had to bite the bullet on that one. But I think Bill Belichick and his assistants are going to get it done for one last hurrah.
Well,
Now we'll see. I mean, Anthony's going to win, yeah?
I guess
Anthony's going to win. So we'll see who ends up winning
Which
the way
Anthony's
it is
gonna
here.
win?
I think it's me. I think it's going to be me. What do you think?
Oh, man.
Anthony
Your
won.
confidence.
Anthony won. So I want to congratulate the basketball team on their success thus far, but I just want to clear something up. ASU isn't a basketball school. Maybe in the eyes of executives whose jobs heavily rely on the dominance of either the football, baseball, and yes, even the basketball program, but ASU has teams well on their way to championships. The swim team just knocked off the 3-time defending national champions. The gymnastics squad is number 12 in the national standings. Oh, and they just happen to be led by a freshman who's been named Pac-12 Freshman of the Week for the 3rd time in a row. Sun Devil Wrestling is number 8 in the country with a bad man and Zahid Valencia at the helm. And in case you haven't kept up with the water polo team, they're number 1 in the country. So not to take away anything from the remarkable season ASU basketball has had, but let's just be clear on one thing. Arizona State is much more than a basketball school, and that's the way it is.
Now we're going to go to the top plays of the week. At number 3, we hit the ice.
What do we got? Hockey.
Johnny Walker shoots down into the circle.
First some dancing.
Great block, and follow your shots, kids.
There we go.
As
That looks like Croston to me.
that is Anthony Croston who puts it in.
That's a nice follow.
It's a great follow.
Good weekend for ASU hockey.
Big weekend for ASU hockey.
Let's go. We got number 2. We're going to the court. Remy Martin gets swatted, but Shannon Evans gets the board, gives it out to Trey Holder, who, he gets it. Let's see. He's going to go to the line. 3-point play. Gets some,
bet.
big man. There it is.
What a season he's had so
Oh, my
far.
goodness,
And the number 1
incredible.
play, back at the ice again. A great pass into Louis Rowe, and he claps it in.
Double overtime.
Double OT win over Quinnipiac.
Wow.
Big, big weekend for ASU hockey. As we see it
Quinnipiac.
again,
Let's do that hockey.
let's do that hockey thing. And, well, that's all the time we have for you guys today. For Anthony, I'm Anthony. Have a great one.